Nice. Boom.
Boom. Guys, it is Monday. It is 5 o'clock or a little bit later because I'm always behind. And this is After Hours Real Estate. And man, what are we going to talk about today? But are buyers getting absolutely screwed? And this goes, dude, there's a lot of layers to this. We're going to talk about a lot of things. And the conversation I was just having, that we were just having, we're going to dive into that too. But guys, if you've never watched the show before, what we always do, since it is 5 o'clock and it is a Monday, we have a little adult beverage. Oh, my name's Chris. I'm a real estate broker just outside of Austin, Texas. That guy right there, I'll get my camera right here in a second. His name's Steve. He's a mortgage loan originator and a badass guitarist in right outside of Austin, Texas, because that's where we do. That's where we live. We're in Central Texas. Man, what are you drinking today?
My friend, today I have my Heineken.
Nice. I like it. I like it. I'm very, very sad right now.
Did anyone ever figure out what that red star means, by the way?
Oh, yeah, guys. Y'all were supposed to tell us what the red star is.
Go ahead. And so, why are you sad, sir?
Well, man, I'm a huge black IPA fan. And they're not made very often. And the place that I've found that I really, really like is in Colorado. And they only make them for like a month, like for January. That's it. And I am down to my last black IPA. It's Sanitas Brewing Company. It's between, I don't know if technically it might be Boulder, but there's my little owl. And this is my last black IPA that I have for this year.
Time to stock up next time, right?
I'm going to pour one out in my mouth for my homies. Cheers.
That's a bad idea. Don't do that.
No, for the black IPA that's dying. This is my last one.
I'm kidding. You're good.
Oh, and I have a backup also, by the way, because that one.
All right.
Just saying, it is what it is. So do we want to start with the conversation that I was just having about the gentleman that led to the other conversation, or do we want to start with the Twitter threads that we were talking about today?
You know, I think we start with that conversation with your guy that wants to have freedom.
Yeah. So I just had a crazy call. This is a guy. So I run Facebook ads for my sellers, and this guy's out of New York, and he was taking a look at the house. And so I called him today, just following up. And, about 10 to 15% of these people actually pick up the phone. And 1% of them are actually jackasses. And they're like, how did you get my phone number? Well, you put it into Facebook, dude. I'm sorry. Anyway, this guy was neither of those. He sounded like he was probably in his early 60s, maybe mid 60s. Like, imagine what somebody, in the movies, we think somebody from New York sounds like, right? That's exactly what he sounded like. This guy has a belly. He's in the mafia. No, I'm joking. But anyway, like this guy was New York. That's exactly what he sounded like. And he's like, yeah, what I'm trying to do, and I'm not even going to try to do the accent, but he's like, what I'm trying to do is find out where I'm going to move for retirement. He said, it's either going to be Texas or Florida. And I'm like, cool. Yeah. But it's either going to be Texas or Florida. We got to talking. The place that he's looking at is a listing of mine. It's 27 acres. It's got a small house, but beautiful grass. It's in Dale, which is, southeast of Lockhart. So great farmland. And that's the way I've got it advertised, because that's exactly what it is. And he makes the comment. He goes, I want this to be a family place, and a family just should not have to buy their milk. I want cows, and I want pigs, and I want chickens, and I want to grow stuff. He's like, tell me, can you grow fruit trees there where that house is? And so we just had this conversation, right, about all the stuff he wants to do. This guy's in New York. This guy is wanting freedom, right? That's all he wants. That's what he wants. He wants to be able to do stuff and grow stuff and take care of himself and his family. And so I said that, and then you said.
And then you just broke up.
Oh, I said all of that. And then you said, after you found out what this guy was wanting to do.
Did you hear about DeSantis in Florida?
I saw one
DeSantis in Florida, right? Yeah. He basically had a speech that said, you pay for your mortgage. After 30 years, you've been paying taxes every year. How long did you even have to work before you even bought the house? You were paying taxes back then. He says at some point, people should be able to own their home without owing taxes on it. where it should truly be their home. Because because if you miss a tax payment and you're some 90-year-old woman whose husband's died, I'm trying to paint a picture here, right? It could be anybody, but and you just can't make the payments and you miss that tax payment, they take the home. The government comes in and says, "Oops, sorry, you missed this year's. It doesn't matter how many other years you paid for." And he's like, that's BS. That shouldn't be that way. There should be some way for someone to own their home outright from the government and not be taxed on it.
Yeah.
Um,
Now,
Big
before
deal.
you go, I want to make one caveat. In Texas, they cannot take your homestead. Now they can file tax liens and all that other stuff. They can't take your homestead in Texas. I just want to point that out. But it
Well,
doesn't
truth
change
is,
the
I don't
fact.
know if they can in Florida either. I'm glad that you pointed that out. I have
Yeah.
no idea about Florida.
But it doesn't change the fact of what he's saying. And dude, when you were saying that a while ago, I'm like doing mental math in my head. And I'm like, if I'm in my house now for more than 10 years, I'll have paid more in taxes than I did for my first house.
Yeah, at some point it does make sense to stop taxing someone to a
Yeah.
degree, because then now we're getting into the European stuff or other countries where they do like 100-year leases or 30-year leases, and depending on who's in charge in the government, you may or may not be able to get the option of renewing that lease or not.
Yeah.
And it says I can, but it's not always the case. That kind of stuff. Um, Over here, uh, you know, uh, things change over time, right? And
Yeah.
you gotta run a country. So I was just having this conversation outside. I've got a bunch of abilities when it comes to complaining about these things, but when it comes to solving them, I have about zilch. So I'm great at bitching, but not much at
Well, yeah. I
you
mean,
know.
and that's 99% of the population. We don't have ideas. We just want to bitch about stuff.
Right, but it sure would be nice to not have to pay taxes after a while on the
It
house.
would be.
Maybe after 30 years of paying for them.
And man, that's the hard thing, right? And by the way, guys, if you've got comments or thoughts on this, drop them in. And if you know what the red star on the Heineken can is for or about, because it kind of looks communist, right?
Yeah.
Make sure you let us know, because neither one of us know how to use Google's while we're on air. Um, I don't know where I was going with that. Oh,
So
go
you were
ahead, go
talking
ahead.
about your guy wanting freedom. We were talking about land that
Yeah,
may
and
be.
that's the thing. Like, I've got a lot of people that I know, and I would consider myself probably a little more libertarian leaning than anything
Oh
else.
yeah, you are.
Um,
You are.
but the thing, like, if you want to be a staunch libertarian, okay, no taxes, and everybody loves the idea of no taxes, and then you've
Huh.
got people of political persuasion
Unless,
that are like, well, who's going to
unless
pay
you're
for
a police officer or a fireman, you don't love that idea then, right? But
fair?
keep going. Details.
Um, well, no, but to that point, or who's going to pay for police and fire protection and all this other stuff, right? Because that's a part of our taxes. And so that becomes the question, all right, well, how do you get to a tax-free state without paying for, or and still being able to have those things, right? Maybe to your point, maybe at a certain, when your kids are out of school, the only taxes that you pay are police and fire and EMS, or I don't know, but
Well, again, I'm great
there's
at
got to be
complaining
a point.
about it.
Yeah, we're really good at complaining because,
Yeah.
I mean, look, if there is anything, if there's anything that the last month has taught me, it's the reiteration and the confirming that anything that the government does completely wastes money. Completely. I mean, there's no way, when your bureaucracies are as big as what our federal and state government, and hell, even Austin, it's so big, you almost have to have an oversight committee. And I know that we do. That was a joke. You almost have to have an oversight committee to make sure that there's not any money wasted. And then you've got to keep the oversight committee with fiduciary responsibility. It's almost like you have to incentivize them not to take bribes from other people to waste money. I don't know. I don't know, man. Give
Again,
me an
I
answer.
can complain about a lot of it, but I don't have many solutions for it.
I don't know. Well,
Not
on
yet, at
that
least.
note, shall we jump into what we were talking earlier
Yes.
about buyers getting screwed? Because the reason that relates, by the way, is if you, well, let's set this up, right? And this is buyers, but also first time home buyers. And that's really what we're talking about. Um, just because you can afford a house, if you're in a state like Texas and your taxes continually go up every year, maybe next year you can't afford the house because the market took off like it did in COVID again, and interest
When
rates
it's
didn't.
happened, it
Yeah,
happens.
yeah. I will not give California very much credit for anything, at all. But that's just me being Texas, right? But you know what? I kind of like the way they do their property taxes. Like once you buy your house, your taxes are fixed from that point forward until the next person buys their house. I don't necessarily mind that idea. It doesn't get rid of taxes, but I can tell you that my taxes on this house here have gone up probably 35 to 40% from 8 years ago. I mean, if they were fixed, that would be one thing.
Well, the homestead should fix some of the taxes.
It
Obviously, not
doesn't
all of
really
them.
fix it. It doesn't really fix it. Your taxes
Mm.
can continue to go up.
The over
Imagine
65 exemption. I'm sorry. The over
right
65 exemption is the one. You're right. The homestead doesn't. It does cap how much it can go up
at
by what,
10%.
10%?
Yeah, it caps it at 10. And then also with that, you get $100,000 on some of the things that you pay taxes on. $100,000 credit, so it saves you about $1,000 a year for most people, which is significant. I mean, $100 a month, dude. Right now in this economy with our groceries, $100 pays for my freaking eggs. Um, almost. It wasn't supposed to be a joke, or it was supposed to be a joke, but it's kind of true, right?
That's
Too soon?
bad.
Too
That's
soon? See what
bad.
happens when
That's
you
really bad.
stop.
Let's read this article. But I mean, that's bad as in. I mean, it is bad. It's really it's really bad.
It is. It
Oh
is.
man.
Before we, Diana, unless you have clients who give you eggs, oh, damn it, Diana, I got your email this morning and I didn't respond. I'm so sorry. The answer is yes. Let's grab lunch or coffee or something. Sorry, I'm glad you're watching. Okay. So before we jump into the article, I'm going to pop this other couple of things up here. So, median age of first time home buyers in the US is 38. That's kind of crazy. But you know what this graph makes me think of?
Hmm.
Look where the low spot is,
Yeah.
2008. This kind of reminds me of appreciation overall in the US. Prices are going up, so is the median age of first time home buyers. That's interesting to me. It's almost a direct correlation. You think?
Yeah.
This 24% of US home sales in 2024 went to first time home buyers, the lowest share in history. Obviously, if the age is going up, the percentage of first time home buyers is going down. Look at that.
Do you remember being in that seminar with me a couple of years ago where we were told this year specifically would be one of the best years for first-time home buyers?
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah.
happened to that prediction?
Well, I think what happened to that prediction was what we've talked about the last few weeks on the show,
The
which is
numbers were fake, and yeah, like
yeah,
we tried to tell them back then too. You remember we told them, well, what if the numbers aren't right? Well, no, that's preposterous. All right, okay, fine.
and when you're right, you're right. So that's a interesting little stat there. And then the last one, housing affordability is worse today than at the peak of the last housing bubble. This is 2007. This is 2006. Housing affordability is worse today than it was prior to the oh my gosh, the meltdown because of
Right.
the
So we say this,
mortgage.
but I keep asking how much of this is inflation. If we put an inflation graph next to this, what would that look like?
It'd probably be pretty similar. But do you think inflation dropped that much right before? Or, yeah, right
I don't
after.
think inflation dropped after 2008. It
That's what
kept
I'm
going
saying.
up.
So it would probably track here, but I don't think it would track here.
Okay, but let me ask you this. These are the housing payments, right?
This is
So,
median payment as a percentage of your median income.
oh, then never mind.
So this has got income baked in. Yep.
Well, no, not never mind, because wages wouldn't have risen at the same pace that we've seen groceries go up,
Oh, absolutely not.
right? I mean, we have people with triple the grocery bill that they had in 2020, here in 2024. Well, now we're in 2025, but back in 2024 we were talking about this. And
Yep.
so, as a percentage of your income, no, jobs have not tripled. And I'm not making triple what I was in 2020.
God, I
And
wish.
so, yeah, no kidding, right? If anything, home prices coming down and less buyers is a double whammy in the wrong direction on that one too.
Yeah.
Um, so I would, if you were looking at my household income as a percentage, do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think this graph is kind of skewed, right? Because when people
it
start
could be.
losing
You're right.
income, that's going to go up without, let's just say all the prices of the home stayed exactly the same, but everybody started losing massive amounts of income, right?
Yeah.
Anyways,
Well,
sorry, keep going.
no. You're on a good tangent. But I guess the question is this like hard income, or is this, income devaluated by inflation?
Well, I can't
And
see the darn graph that close, and I don't have my glasses on. I'm on my cell phone, right? But
oh,
but
come
at the end of the
on.
day, brother, I would guess that this graph is more for show than anything. But keep going.
It is, but look, Charlie Bolello is, I guess that's how, or Baleo, I don't know how you say his name, but I think that is. He's good. And so that you guys know who this is on Twitter. He's a market strategist at Creative Planning. Like, this is what this guy does. He studies numbers all day. He's another one of those people who, probably could make money as a stock market day trader. Okay, before we go to the other article, I'm going to pop this up real quick. So the census data now says that in order to afford a median home in half of the country, you need to make 100,000 plus a year. This is from today. Okay, that's from census data. And there's a lot of stuff there, but in over half of the country, you have to make $100,000 or more to buy an entry level home. So that seems kind of significant. You ready? Guys, this is from a Wall Street Journal article, and I'm
By the
too.
way, I want everyone to know that that could be two people making $50,000.
Fallacy of the mean. You're right. Well, yeah. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. It doesn't have to be, yeah, individual income. I mean, if you had
and
four
and
jobs.
that's not a set in stone number. There are plenty of programs available to you, and today there's a lot of sellers that don't think they're going to be able to sell, that are willing to give you a money up front or a deal on the home, seeing it left and right. So while that article can knock some wind out of your sails, please don't
Yeah,
let it completely. Keep going.
that's a good point. Thanks for pointing that out, because again, that's half of the U.S. And I mean, we did a show the other day where I showed people that you can buy houses in Austin for $300,000 still. Look, you can make 60 or 70,000 a year. I forgot what the data said on that thing, and afford a home in the Austin
Yeah, and I
area.
think a $50,000 a year income isn't a lot to ask if you're willing to I think like an apprentice for a an electrician, AC person, etc., can make close to that, and then a couple years in, you're making way more, right? And so
Yeah,
I don't think it's really too much to ask for two people to do that. But then again, for one person, it's become much more
it
difficult
can
than
be.
it was,
It can be,
and that
but I will go
sucks.
out on a limb and point out that I know, most teachers at this point are making, if not 50 plus. So, you know, now that's not everybody. There's people who struggle, but just saying.
Hey
Yeah,
man, you go back to
and
like 1905, and you had to come up with, I think it was 50% down, and the loan was a 5-year term, if I
yeah,
remember correctly. And if I'm
yeah,
wrong on that, it's not by much. It was
it
ugly
was,
compared
yeah.
to today, right?
Well, again, the government's made it easier and easier to
Well,
afford.
we're about to find out how, aren't we? Go ahead and what was that? Remember that? Yeah. Sorry.
That
Go
was
ahead.
the
Go ahead.
lead in, man. That was the lead in.
And you've done a wonderful job because it was, yeah. This is sick,
All right,
a
guys.
bad
So
way
this,
sick.
again, this is from Wall
And
Street Journal.
I've got to point out, as a mortgage lender, I do not service mortgages. This article is all about mortgage servicers. Those are the people
Right.
that send you your mortgage statement every month and say, okay, send me the payment. Okay, every month. Okay, that's your mortgage servicer. And these are the people that this whole thing is talking about. Sorry, I really wanted to just make that
Nope.
distinction
You're
clear.
good, man.
I
You're
will not
good.
interrupt again. Go ahead.
Anyway, this is from the Wall Street Journal. Guys, I am too cheap to pay $1 a month for the Wall Street Journal, because then they raise it to like $20 a month. Anyway, or $40 a month. In 2007, 35% of new FHA borrowers had debt to income ratios above 43%. Okay, I'm going to stop there for a second, and I'm going to let you ramble for a second. First, explain to us what an FHA borrower is, and explain to us what a debt to income ratio is.
I'm not going to explain it the same way I did last time.
That's
God,
fine.
ever again. So FHA borrowers. I'm going to talk about the FHA program.
Yeah.
FHA program allows you to have more debts than the typical conventional would allow you to have. You can have more debts, right? Higher car payment, etc., than you would on other loan programs. It is much more lenient in credit score and in down payment. So you can go as low as 3.5%. I know there are some specialty program. Go ahead.
Oh, no, as you're doing this, I want to remind people an FHA program is a government program to make housing more affordable. Go.
Right, federal. So,
Federal
um,
program, yes.
yeah, and so, long story short is if you don't qualify for a conventional loan, the next step a lender will take is to typically go FHA and see if you'll qualify for that loan. And if you don't qualify for that loan, then there's usually not many other options. However, I have seen some questionable files get passed with FHA, and it's not up to me which one gets passed or not.
Right.
It's up to me to click a button that tells me, and it's not quite so simple, but basically it is. I have to run a program, which I have to click that button that says start right on the program, and then the program spits out some results and says this person does or does not qualify for a mortgage, and usually it says they do, but here's a bunch of other reasons why, or other things we need to see to make sure they really do, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to simplify it here, but at the end of the day, if someone qualifies, I'm legally obligated to say, hey, you qualify for this loan. Would you like to move forward? I can say, I'm not sure if it'd be a really great idea for you to spend so much of your money every month because you're really you're going to be what we call house poor. But at the end of the day, here you do qualify. If you'd like to move forward, you have that option, right? I cannot say I'm not going to lend to you. There's no way you're making your payments, right?
Right.
And a long time ago you could, but then people would abuse that power if they just were discriminatory, etc. And so to level the playing field now, it's in people's best interests not to be really given that harsh reality of you can't qualify for this, you shouldn't pay for this home. and
Right.
and the government is very lenient on these things, right, up to 50%. So we're talking, again, it's rare that I see these, but I have seen debt to income ratios up to 50% on an FHA where the person has, let's just keep the math
Wow.
simple here. Let's say your mortgage payment is $2,000 a month and you're already spending, you know well, okay, so half of your income goes to the house,
Yeah.
right?
Less
And to
monthly
your
car
debts,
payments, groceries, electric, internet, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
right? So already half your income is counted for, and we're going to buy a house anyway. So it's just not quite that simple. But long story short is that it's a little too lenient. I know a lot of lenders that will shake their head and say, "I can't believe this got passed," but legally they can't say no.
Right.
So go ahead.
It's not up to you. Oh, and then the other thing I wanted you to talk about, oh, was a debt to income ratio. You talked about that though, right?
Yeah,
Basically all your debts versus your income. Okay. Setting the
well, there's
stage.
two different ratios, which makes it very confusing. But yeah, keep
Yeah,
going.
there's a front end, there's a back end, guys. There's a ton of stuff. Call Steve offline if you really want to nerd out on it. It's there's a lot involved there. By 2020, COVID, 54% did had debt to income ratios above 43%. As housing prices and inflation surged, borrowers became more stretched. FHA kept insuring mortgages to borrowers who were increasingly leveraged. In other words, who were less worthy of getting a loan. About 64% of FHA borrowers last year exceeded the 43% threshold. Dude, that's effing bonkers.
But that's the sad part is that I'm told when I read the guidelines, this is the number they have to stay under. But then when I run that program I
43%,
talked
gotta
about,
stay under.
right, right, well, it depends on
Well,
certain situations. It's not easy for me to answer, so I'm not going to actually say those numbers.
credit
But
worthiness, blah, blah, blah.
the,
Yeah.
the frustrating part is that sometimes the program will run anyways, even if it's not supposed
Yeah.
to on paper. And think of yourself as a lender, and a realtor calls you and says, "I've got this client. Okay, I know I've never used you before as a lender, but my other lender said he can't do it, and can you do it?" And you look at this, and let's say they have like a 55% debt to income ratio. You're like, "No, sorry, the guidelines say 43%, right?" And okay, well, they're going to apply anyways. Great, so they apply, and or no, better yet, they don't apply, and they go to some other lender who says, "Yeah, I can give it a shot," right? Not knowing if he can or not, and knowing that the guidelines say they can't, and knowing that they're going to have a hard credit hit on their credit score, right? Which could negatively affect their credit.
All of its damages. Yep.
And then he throws the file up against the wall, and oh my God, it's stuck. I can't believe it got passed. It went through. And then I look really bad as a lender because even though the mathematical formulas say, hey, this won't work, the computer has some weird code that nobody knows what the code is, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and it drives us all crazy. There
Guys, and
there are some
he's
people.
not exaggerating. He is not exaggerating in
Yeah,
the
and
slightest.
mortgage companies, if you are good at tweaking that code, and I don't mean the code, but I mean the inputs. So,
Yep.
give them one more dollar. Oh, hey, we got it passed. That kind of thing.
Yep.
You are highly sought after. You can get files closed that other people can't. Because anyways,
You know which buttons to push.
again, I'm great at complaining about it, not so good at fixing the problem here. Sorry, go
All
ahead.
right.
Go ahead.
So let's keep rolling here. The FHA loan portfolio, all the loans that are in the FHA program, is far riskier than it was before 2008 housing crisis. Steve, why would it matter if that loan portfolio is risky?
Oh God. Because we have mortgage-backed securities, which is a huge pool of mortgages sold as investments.
Steve,
And
what
if
happened in 2007?
I mean, God, I feel like I've just gone back in time to when I've explained all this stuff
Dude,
too.
this is bonkers.
It's so
Okay,
weird,
I'll
right?
keep going.
Um,
I'll keep
all the
going.
problems, listen, I'm going to shorten this. All the problems that we had in 2008 still exist today. In fact, there was a study that came out in 2014 that said the biggest problem wasn't the mortgage lenders.
That's
They
right.
were following the laws we set for them. The biggest problem was the institutional investors, which happened to stay out of the news because they own all the news networks like
Right.
BlackRock. And then when the report came out, nobody heard about it because they own all the news stations, right? By the way, did you know BlackRock owns Fox News and MSNBC?
Oh my gosh. No, I had no idea. That's freaking hilarious.
I mean, where do
Hey, Ann.
you what do you it's all cool, it's all good, we're all
Okay,
being totally
but
informed, everyone's
but I
getting all the
but I
knowledge they need.
yeah, yeah, nobody's being fed anything. Which is why I spend my time on Twitter, by the way. Um,
I want to live, I love the system, we're fine, go ahead.
so I want to reiterate this point. The FHA loan portfolio, talking about now, is far riskier than it was before the
This is
2008 housing crisis.
far
Let that sink
riskier,
in.
it's like 2% worse, but keep going. But hey man, if you're an accountant, 2% is a big deal, right?
Oh yeah, that's
If
a
you're
big
a
number.
housewife, you're like, oh, big deal, honey, just get over it. Go ahead, sorry. So that was a bad joke, go ahead. Please quickly go ahead, I'd like to move forward from this moment.
No, we're going to sit on that one for a second. About 7.05% of FHA mortgages issued last year went seriously delinquent. 90 or more days past one a day. 3 months delinquent.
No, no, it's even worse. It's not point 0.2, it's 0.03. Sorry, yeah.
0.03. Within 12 months, that's more than a 2008 peak. Look, it's higher.
Much higher.
And everybody talks about the 2008 blow up of the market that gave us all this new legislation that completely rewrote our lending codes and everything else. And it was a housing meltdown. We're higher now in subprime mortgages or delinquent mortgages, rather. Wow. Under the guy, this is a Wall Street Journal's article. I'm just going to
Well, hold
reiterate.
on, really quick. One of the things that article or that government funded investigation showed was that BlackRock would buy up, well, through other subsidiaries, right, but they would buy up all these homes and artificially raise the prices in the market over 2 or 3 years and force people out. Keep going.
Do you know that iHome buyers were trying to do the same thing
Yep, they're
in
all trying to do the same thing. You want to
2022 and
crash the
20?
market, buy
They
when it's
weren't
low.
big enough. They weren't big enough.
Keep going because this article
Ann's
is
right. Too much consumer debt right now. And I've got another great chart on that. The FHA. Oh, sorry. Under the guise of COVID relief, the Biden administration masked the growing troubles in the housing market by paying off borrowers and mortgage servicers to prevent foreclosures. Of the
yeah, I had no knowledge of this.
52,531 FHA loans last year that went
Zero knowledge of
seriously
this.
delinquent within the first year, only 9 of them re- resulted in foreclosure.
9 foreclosures.
Hey,
FHA.
hey, can we talk about hiding numbers again?
I mean, this isn't hiding numbers. This is far
Wow.
worse.
Wow. The
Well, I guess
FHA,
if true, where are we getting this information from?
this is the Wall Street Journal,
I
dude.
think they're owned by BlackRock too. Oh, keep going. Sorry.
Maybe they might be. This is
I'm dead
you're right.
serious, by the way.
The FHA instituted a program that pays mortgage servicers, not mortgage loan originators,
Yeah, not me. The people that send you the statement. Yeah,
mortgage
no.
servicers to make borrowers missed payments for them. The FHA, I'm going to reread it, instituted a program that pays mortgage servicers to make missed payments for them. Missed payments are added to the loan's principal, but without interest. Okay,
You
so
guys
they're
got
going
to
to
understand. Hold on, hold on. You got to understand when I make my mortgage payment, or when anybody makes their mortgage payment, you see your money going to a bank, and that's the end of it for you. But the reality is that that bank doesn't own that money. That money then gets distributed to all the people that are part of that transaction, which is all these mortgage-backed securities. They need to spend that money and pay all their investors. If they don't, then the mortgage-backed security would default, and then all of the loans would become due, and that bank would have to then pay all that money back to the investors, and it would be a complete disaster. They would run out of money almost immediately.
which is
Okay, so
what happened in 2007.
the payments, correct, the payments have to be made. So the bank has to then, hey man, you're not going to make your payment. It sounds great, punish the bank, great. Well, the bank only has so much money, and the money they have comes from you, the
That's right.
depositors, which they're
That's
not
right.
even allowed to legally hold on to most of, right?
That's
And
right.
so they have to make these payments and keep going. So God, I keep interrupting you.
No,
I told you I wouldn't interrupt you again.
you're making the point. This is exactly right. The same crap that happened in 2007 is happening again,
I'm out of
and
here.
our freaking government said, nope, we don't want to deal with this again. We're going to pay off the debt for them. Oh,
But
but
not
we're going
only
to
that,
add it to the back of the
keep
principal.
reading because it's even worse.
Well, I know. Wow. Missed payments are added to the loan's principal, but without interest. The FHA also pays servicers to cut monthly payments for delinquent borrowers by 25% for 3 years, with the payment reductions also added to principal without interest. They keep stacking it to the back just so they don't default. Just don't default on me. Wait, Steve, what happens if we add, I don't know, a year's worth of payments at $1,000 principal and interest, $12,000 to the end of a note, and then it's
So
still
here's the
in
thing. Here's the thing.
closed on?
It's
And
supposed right. It's supposed to be interest free. They're also supposed to drop your mortgage insurance at a certain point, but
yeah,
mortgage servicers are famous for oops, forgot, we'll just keep
not to,
charging you, and oh man, it's gonna take a while for the paperwork, so we'll get on to it, right? Whenever, bro. They're famous for overcharging customers when because the customers don't know that they're on auto pay.
yeah, yeah,
Whatever, right?
yeah, drafts to my
Um,
bank account.
do we think in this situation, which I also find is extremely unreasonable because I've never done a $4,000 a month FHA payment. That's again, let's just be
We're
clear
not
on
in
that one. But
California or New York, but
hey,
anyway,
man, they do happen. There are high priced. I can't remember exactly, but they're anyways. Long story short is that that's not a typical FHA loan, all right.
you know,
But if you're going to add $56,000 to the mortgage, what you're really doing is making the home almost unsellable,
that's right.
right?
You're gonna
Because
be
now
underwater when you
you
sell
owe
that house.
so much more than the home is worth that now you can't sell the house.
That's right.
Whoop de
If
doo,
it's
you
a
got a few months off,
$500,000
but you
house,
are
that's 10%.
screwed.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Consider a borrower who misses $4,000 monthly mortgage payments. A servicer will add $20,000 in missed payments to the mortgage and reduce monthly payments by $1,000 for 3 years, adding another $36,000 to their mortgage. So the borrower is $56,000 deeper in debt, meaning the house is worth $56,000 less because they have to pay off that debt if they sell the house
Yeah,
with
think of
no
it being like a
additional.
$500,000 home, right? At
That's
least in this case,
over
because of the
10%.
payment.
Yeah. I mean,
And now it's gone up 10%.
if he misses payments again, the servicer rinses and repeats, getting paid $1,750 every time it lathers up. The FHA also servicers charge borrowers legal fees, typically several $1,000s that are added to the principal payment. The FHA made 556,841 incentive payments to servicers over the last year to prevent foreclosures, nearly as many as the new mortgages it insured. More pay or almost as many payments as new mortgages.
Man, I wonder where they
Limit
got
that
that money
mortgage
from.
release has become a cash cow for servicers, some of which originated the risky loans and are paid not to foreclose. Wow.
So, Jesus, can you imagine? Where does that money come from?
I mean, I know you. I know that's a
Oh,
tongue-in-cheek question.
well, yes and no.
Well, it comes
Because if
from
they
you and
haven't
I,
found it
dude.
yet, What'd you say?
It's tax money. It's yours and mine.
Well, obviously, but
That's what
which
I'm saying.
organizations? How's it get funneled? Where are they actually getting funded from? I would just love to know more, right? Or would I? Or would I?
Probably,
I love my
but
life. I don't
dude,
hang around near elevator shafts. Anyone? We're fine.
when I saw this come across this morning, I was like, "You have got to be shitting me," because I didn't know. I had no idea. No idea. Share of borrowers with debt to income ratios above 40. This is again. This is the financial meltdown. This is where we are now in terms of borrowers with DTIs over 43%.
I mean, well, come on, man. Homes go up in price, and people come to me and they qualify. What are we supposed to do?
Eh, yeah, I mean, yeah. What do? We counsel them the best we can.
You know what happened after the last crash and after all the law changes on that front? I'm now allowed to say, hey, I think you might be getting in over your head here. That's it. That's the only change. Before, I could have been sued for being an asshole before for saying such words. How dare you tell me what I can and cannot afford, even though you've seen every ounce of what I make and earn and spend every month.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, dude, I'm kind of speechless at that. Like,
Yeah,
I
the
had no
government
idea it
says you
was
can
that.
spend 50% of what you make, right? It
Yeah.
should be
Oh, and by
43,
the
but we've
way,
seen 50.
on the way out here, we'll there are now stated income loans have been around for 3 years again. You
Not with
can get a
me.
stated well, not with
Sorry.
stated income,
Anybody
but
wants them,
you
don't
can
come to
do
me. I can't help you there.
yeah. Though well, and I'm saying that not guys, I'm not saying that because I want you to go get a stated income loan. They're stupid,
Are you
but
saying because it's stupid?
the government is allowing them again, and it's all overridden by government regulation. And so if they're allowed, that means that the government's okaying it.
So, like, if you sent me a client and we closed, there's this thing called RESPA that says I can't send you something for closed business, right? For settlement
Right.
business. So I let's say I gave you like $100 gift card every time you
Can't do it. Oh, and he just cut out. Look, the
phone call. Oh,
government
sorry.
freaking just wiped him out.
Weird, man. Are you still there? Now you're
I thought
black
the
on my
government
screen. I don't
just
know if you
took
see
you
anything.
out, dude. I think you got FBI coming in.
I had a phone call from the city of Lago Vista explaining that there was a missed person or a missing person they just found. I already got the text like 2 seconds before then. Um, what was I saying? God,
Hell no.
thanks a lot,
Um,
Lago. It's my fault. Should have my phone on vibrate or silent,
and
whatever.
let's kill it at that. That's I mean, I'm this depresses me. And Ann was right. Like, but God, dude, the problem is, like, what do you tell home buyers? Like you said, what I mean, you counsel them, but the American dream is to own a house, right?
You could still do that. We just established that two
Yeah,
people working. What's the average income right now? Like 48,000 a year,
I
right?
think
We just
so.
decided
Yeah,
we needed 50 for each of you, and we're living in
yeah,
Austin. No problem.
yeah. You're good. Yeah, and that's right. I mean, the vast majority of people can live the American dream. Um,
What I would
yeah,
tell new home buyers is buy when there's blood in the streets, including your own. That's what the actual statement says.
yeah,
Okay. Not just buy when there's blood in the streets. You got to be feeling pain too. Nobody gets away
yeah,
with this scot free. And you buy because people will give you a deal, and then when there's no more deals around, everybody's buying and the prices go up, right? So and then they wish they would have been you 2 years earlier.
yeah. And by the way, bonds were a lot higher last year, but they also you're right. What Ann's saying is when bonds are up, then interest rates come down. So yeah, bonds were higher last year. You could get 5.25, 5.5 for a 12-year bond. You can't get that anymore. It's about 4.75.
I'll tell you what's interesting right now, if anyone wants to have some fun, is to look at gold and the shortages we're seeing in gold.
Dude, and
Um,
how much is being delivered every day into
well,
stockpiles?
but also how much is being denied every day. So
Oh,
an order's been put in. Sorry, we're not going to give any more of our gold away. We'd like to keep our gold. Thank you very
wow,
much. Right,
wow.
and then people ordering and it just not showing up, being empty, kind of thing. So there's that, and then we've got the Fed's favorite gauge on Friday, which is CPI, right?
Yeah,
And so it's supposed to be coming in hot. If it doesn't, fine, but we'll see. We'll see. It could be a crazy week next week as a result. Let's just put it that way.
and we'll be here on Monday to tell you all about it. My friend, thank you. I appreciate it. See y'all later.